This is The Practicing Christian, and this report is about when Christians kill. Just over a week ago, last Thursday, Jacob Foreman entered in the Kelowna, British Columbia court a guilty plea to murdering his wife and two daughters. The couple were married in 2005. Foreman, 35 years old, was a plumber by trade, an alcoholic who had come to realize his drinking was having an adverse effect on his family. Reporters were told this. On the day he killed his family, he was sober. Quote, he was actually in a process of withdrawal. He knew that he was not helping his family by being an alcoholic, close quote, a friend said. Quote, he wanted to withdraw, but he tried to withdraw without support or treatment, and that obviously led to devastating consequences. At one point, Mr. Foreman had begun to study and plan for Christian ministry. When Christians kill is a complex and not well enough studied subject. This report will be too short to do it justice. The first point of examination is to ask, who is a Christian? For many, any man growing up in a Christian society will be thought of, and many think of himself as a Christian. Or he may have been baptized, perhaps even confirmed at some point. Unless he's conscientiously rejected his faith, he'll think of himself as a Christian. Another man may worship God regularly, perhaps studying the Bible and church literature as well. Still another will do these things and also be active in works of charity and have something of a deep prayer life. All of these men may consider themselves Christian. Are they, in fact? The challenges for many Christians can come often and be emotionally demanding. If your best friends are in a gang and they want you in, and you must kill another person or be ready to do so, how do you resist this pull of loyalties? If you're an ordinary citizen of Bulgaria or Japan or South Sudan or the USA or France, time and again in the past century, you'll have been ordered to join with other men to kill enemies and might have been jailed or punished or even killed yourself if you had refused to do so. How do you love your Lord, your enemy, and your nation, and your public reputation, all at the same time? It's also important to understand the difference between kill and murder. The Bible, beginning with Genesis 20:13, where it reads, "You shall not murder," seems to allow for killing others to save God's people, such as Israel, the church. Deuteronomy 19, verse 11. Numbers 35, starting in verse 6. From death. It also allows for unpremeditated killing, as in Exodus 2, beginning at verse 12. The laws of God are absolute, but the words must be read in their social, legal context. So the word rasak can mean murder or kill, and is used in the Bible both ways. The opposite of us killing other people is something very common. It's being killed by other people. Men and women are killed purposefully, daily, around the world for becoming Christians, according to Open Doors USAS.org. If we can keep from being killed, or keep another alive by killing the murderer, are we justified? From what we see in the previous paragraph, we may well be. We also confront the sorts of killings that sometimes go unrecorded. Abortions, for example, or people drowning from the sinking of a badly maintained ferry, or quiet deaths from air pollutants that may affect hundreds of thousands of people. In the same vein is a seller of cigarettes a killer. And sometimes it's an accident that takes life. If I hit someone with my car, am I a killer? Well, if I had a few drinks, perhaps. But if I hit someone who dies and I hadn't been drinking, am I still a killer? And I may know nothing of how I killed someone. If I build a house made of fine decorated bricks, fired and polished by 5 to 7-year-old boys in India who die at an early age from chemical pollution, am I their killer? I think that Jesus has restated, or perhaps deliberately reset, the commandment on murder when he gave us a new commandment on love. In Mark 12, beginning at verse 28, he set the framework for this. First, we're anchored to God. Quote, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your strength, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your heart." So we're to love God, but we must do that this way. Quote, "The second commandment is this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself." Close quote. There's no other commandment greater than these. Period. We are to go through life looking for ways not to hurt, wound, or kill others. We are not to murder them in soul, mind, or body. When Christians kill, it's often because they've never gone deeply into Christ in their own faith, or they've ignored the pain they bring to others, or not stopped to measure the cost of discipleship. In Matthew 5, verses 21 to 28, we see what Jesus means. For example, he says, if you insult a brother or sister, you'll be liable to the council. And if you say, "You fool," you'll be liable to the hell of fire. These are warnings to us not to be carried away by our anger or casual fury, but to treat each of God's creatures with the respect we would want for ourselves. When Christians kill, we've simply forgotten how to do the one basic thing Jesus asked of us in John 1:34. Love one another. And as the Youngbloods added in their 1967 hit song, "Get Together," love one another right now. Serve then, be in the King's right arm. By the way, we may not be able to or even want to change gun laws, but day after day we can in so many ways remind strangers, friends, kids, co-workers, and others that God has set us all to love even those whom we despise and dislike, but not to kill them.